Welcome to Editorial U, a compilation of information and resources on writing and editing for educational publishing. My name is Kim Kleeman, and I'm the president of Upgrade Education. We've assembled industry experts to lead you through the ins and outs of the learning curve for educational publishing. Free resources for this e-lecture, as well as products for students, educators, parents, and more, is available at our website at www.upgradeeducation.com.
The story behind state standards. In any industry, market researchers determine what consumers want, need, and are willing to pay. For educational publishers, state standards provide guidance in determining what states and school districts want and need from their educational products. The purpose of standards. State standards drive educational product content and marketability. In a sense, standards are the educational industry's quality control. Standards ensure that teachers in every area of a state are working towards the same goals and striving to teach the same skills and concepts to a particular grade level. In addition, state standards do the following: make statewide assessment fair, act as a measure against which parents, teachers, and students can judge progress. Together, this creates accountability and encourages nationwide educational equality. Standards are a relatively new phenomenon. They first appeared in the early 1980s, partly in response to concerns that the United States was falling behind in education. Standards quickly became a necessity, and many states have spent years developing them. A closer look at standards. Standards are meant to clarify what can be expected of students for any particular grade level in any discipline. Typically, standards are broken down by the following: grade, subject matter, content, standard, and benchmark. The difference between a standard and a benchmark is typically that benchmarks are more specific subsets of a standard. For example, a state may issue a grade 3 language arts fiction standard that is something like, students will read a variety of stories in school and independently. Then one subsequent benchmark may be, students will read and identify theme stories such as folktales and fables. Be aware that individual states may name these divisions differently or have fewer divisions. For instance, some states may only have standards and not benchmarks, and other states may use terms such as goals or foundations. In general, the industry uses the term standard. Let's look at another example of a standard. A grade 2 social studies civics standard might read something like this: students will explain the importance of civic responsibility. In general, standards follow a similar pattern and use similar language, no matter the discipline. Also, states will use a numbering and abbreviation system so that standards may be located and referenced easily. Visit the Upgrade Education website for more specific examples of state standards. Standards in educational publishing. As years of research reveal how well students are performing to standards and new technologies enter the classroom, standards require adjustment. For example, digital media literacy, a vital content area included in standards across the states, was not expected of students in every state 10 years ago. Because standards are still in flux, it is up to publishers and developers to remain aware of how standards change. A product aligned to outdated standards is not useful to teachers or students. You can find updates to a state's standards on its Department of Education's website. The relationship between standards and content is complex. States want the materials purchased for use in their schools to support the standards they have developed. Yet the states have never declared how these standards are to be met. It is up to the educational professionals who design programs and create content to understand how standards are applied. Publishers and developers need to have a clear understanding of the standards, knowledge of the skills required by the student to master any particular standard, and the ability to create content that employ those same skills. Standards and content. Publishers may create content with an individual state's standards in mind. In other words, standards would appear on the initial scope and sequence document, and writers would produce manuscript to fit or cover those standards. They may do this when creating products for adoption state customers in particular. Adoption states are those that provide funding to school districts to buy only state-approved products. Among others, adoption states include California, Florida, and Texas. Publishers may focus heavily on adoption states because adoption dollars are basically guaranteed to be spent. States that do not require their school districts to purchase state-approved products are called open territory states. Yet in many cases, schools in such states still look for products that meet their standards. and publishers prepare customized textbook editions for these states as well. Open territory states include Illinois, New York, and Washington, among others. Check out our website for a listing of adoption and open territory states. Publishers may also take already written manuscript and align it to a state's standards. This is called the alignment process, or correlations. First, the correlator or editor must have a strong understanding of the state's standards, what they mean and what they entail. Then the editor must absorb the material presented in the textbook or educational product. If the information in the product is covered under the standard, then the correlator can assign that standard to that specific page in the product. If the product's information is slightly covered or not covered at all by the standard, then the correlator cannot align the content to the standard. To make sure a standard has been completely covered, the correlator may align the same standard to different pages, questions, or parts of a product. That way there is no question that the information has been addressed. For an example of content that has been aligned to state standards, please visit our website. Now you know the story behind state standards and what an important part they play in educational publishing. Visit us again for more e-lectures, training information, and helpful tips on this and other topics.
This e-lecture is made possible by Upgrade Education. Visit www.upgradeeducation.com for more free resources corresponding to this e-lecture. If you'd like to submit a question or a topic, please email us at editorialu@upgradeeducation.com. Thanks for attending Editorial U. Visit soon for more e-lecture releases.